Hi guys, welcome to the 2022 KZN Paper 1 trial paper speedrun. Okay, so we're going to start off with question 1 and we're just going to go through these questions. I'm going to give you some pointers as we go along, the different types of questions. For question 1, we're looking at algebra all throughout. You'll see that the first one there is just a trinomial. Most of these are quadratic equations. There's a simultaneous equation as well, and there's an exponents question right at the bottom, 1.3. So let's dive right in. Okay, the first one, 1.1, you'll see here that we've got this pair of binomial factors. We should be very used to seeing this by now. And also, it's already factorized and it's equal to 0, which is very important. If it's equal to 0, then it's what we call a zero product, and it means that we can separate those equations. We can say that x plus 5 is equal to 0, or 2x minus 1 is equal to 0. Okay, and then each one of these equations gives us a solution. X is equal to negative 5, or x is equal to a half. So what you'll see there is that the 1 goes over, it becomes positive, and then we divide by 2. All right, so you actually only get marks for the solutions here. This is a 2-mark question. You can go straight to the solutions with this one if you're confident. If you don't know what to do with this one, you should probably go back and go through the section on quadratic equations and solving quadratic equations. Get some practice with that. Go right back to grade 10 work. It's not too late to make a little bit of a difference there. Okay, 1.1.2, we've got another quadratic equation. This one is not in standard form yet. It says correct to 2 decimal places, so right away we know we're going to need to use the quadratic formula. So let's just put this in standard form quickly. Negative 3x squared minus 7x, those are staying where they are, plus 8 is equal to 0. We want everything on one side when it's in standard form. Okay, then we can also divide out the negative if we want to, but it's actually not compulsory, so I'm going to jump straight into the formula, and that quadratic formula is x equals negative b plus minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Okay. It is on the formula sheet, you don't have to know it off by heart, but yeah, let's go. So I'm going to fill in the values there. B is negative 7. That's the coefficient of the middle term. That's where we get b from over there. We fill b in both places. I'm going to fill in a as well. A is negative 3. Okay, remember the coefficients are a, b, and then c. So a is negative 3, and c is 8. Okay, fill in a again on the bottom there. Okay, and then what we do here is enter this into our calculator, first with the plus and then with the minus. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, I've got the FX991ZA here. Okay, and that gives us negative 3,17, or you can go back and just change that plus to a minus. Save yourself a bit of writing there, a little bit of typing. 0,84. Okay. All right. So you can also use if you have an equation solving calculator, you can also use that to solve this one. And I will go through a video on that. If you guys are interested, just give us a shout in the comments. Let us know what you would like to see next. And I'll give you a hand with that. The next one over here is the square root of x plus 5 plus 1 equals x. So the first thing that you'll notice here is we got the square root sign. These ones look really intimidating, but it's not actually that bad. We just want to make sure we get that square root on its own, because if you try and square it as it is now, you're going to have a big problem. You'll never get rid of that square root. So let's start off with just bringing that 1 over to get this on its own, x minus 1, okay, and then we're going to square both sides. Okay, and that over here, the square root and the square are just going to cancel. We get x plus 5, and over here we're going to expand this trinomial very quickly. X squared minus 2x plus 1. Okay, and yeah, you can take your time to expand that if you want to, but by now we should be pretty confident with that. All right, and now I'm going to bring everything over to the left. So negative x squared plus 3x plus 4 is equal to 0. And then just divide out that negative, because that will make it easy to factorize. Okay, so when we divide throughout by the negative, everything changes sign. X squared minus 3x minus 4 is equal to 0, and then we can factorize. We're going to get 2 brackets. Okay, we put an x in both brackets, and we are going to have x minus 4, x plus 1. So remember, the rule here is that they must be factors of the negative 4, and they must add up to the middle term, which is negative 3. Okay. Again, battling with this stuff, we will need to go back. X is equal to 4, or x is equal to negative 1. All right, so that was a nice easy 5 marks. We just had to remember to bring that 1 over, then we can square both sides. Once we squared both sides, we bring everything over to one side, standard form, factorize and solve. All right, this should be a very nice question for you to get in the exam. The next one is a quadratic inequality, but again, it's already factorized, so this one is nice and easy again. We get 2 separate equations here. We have 2x minus 3 equals 0, or x plus 5 equals 0. Okay, so your first solution gives you x equals 2 over 3. The next one is x equals negative 5. Okay, but these are not actually the solutions. A lot of guys will stop here, and this is one of my biggest problems with guys. You can't just stop right here. Remember, this is an inequality, so they're actually asking whether this expression is less than 0 or equal to 0. They don't just want where it's equal to 0. So what we have to do here is we have to draw a little diagram, and what you'll see is that if we draw a little number line here, or a little rough sketch, and we show parabola here, okay, something like this. What we've just found are the roots of the parabola. So we have found this root over here, the negative 5, and we've also found this root, the 2 over 3. Okay, now bear in mind they asked us where this parabola is less than or equal to 0, and we can see here that that's actually between these two roots. Okay, so when they ask us where it's negative, we must say that x is greater than or equal to negative 5, but x is also less than or equal to 2 over 3. Now, inequalities are a big topic, guys, so you can spend a lot of time looking at this stuff and going through it. You must be confident with stating regions on the number line in terms of x like this. So if this is a little bit of a mystery, then you're going to need to spend some time on this. First of all, the fact that x is negative in this region, you should be able to see that, or else you need more practice. And then the fact that it's one inequality that's bounded on two sides, you also need to understand that. So get some practice with that. All right, 1.2, solve for x and y simultaneously if x plus 3y equals 5. And all right, so what we've got here is we've got a linear equation and a quadratic equation. When you've got a situation like this, the first step with a simultaneous is to isolate one of your variables in terms of the others. So we want to get x on its own in terms of y. Okay. So I'm going to start with this equation on the left here. And it's always good to start with the linear equation. The easiest thing to get on its own here is x. We can say x is equal to 5 minus 3y. That's just bringing the 3y over. And then we're done. We're done with that equation for now. This is telling us that we can replace x with 5 minus 3y. So I'm going to move on to the next equation, the quadratic equation. Okay. And what we're going to do here is we're going to rewrite this equation, but filling in x in terms of y. So we're going to have 5 minus 3y there. Okay. And now we have only y's in this equation. If you look at this equation, the x is gone and we only have y's. So we just need to simplify and solve. Okay. This is a common problem. I've seen guys are not super happy with this. You've got 5 minus 3y times y. What we have to do here is we have to bring this y into the bracket. So we have to distribute that y to both of those terms. We get 5y minus 3y squared, because we got 3y times y. Okay. And then the rest of it just comes down. Okay, the y squared and the negative 3, we're not going to change that for now. Next thing, we're going to put this in standard form. So we have to add up our like terms. Negative 3y squared plus y squared is negative 2y squared. Okay, that's taking these two guys and adding them up. Next thing, we've got 5y minus 3 equals 0. So we didn't need to change those. I want to put this in standard form, so I'm going to divide by the negative. I'm going to take away that negative. Divide throughout. Remember, everything changes sign. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to factorize this. So this type of equation is pretty hairy when it comes to factorizing it. We know we're going to have a 2y on the one side, we're going to have a y on the other side. Looking at this middle term here, we see that, well, looking at the final term there, we see that our factors are the same sign, and they're both negative, because if you look at that middle term, we've got a negative there. Okay, so same sign, both negative, and then what we will have here is a minus 3 and a minus 2. So in order to get the minus 3, I'm going to put my 3 there, the minus 2. So if you see, when we expand here, we will get negative 3y over there and negative 2y over there. So those two, when you expand them, will give you negative 5y. Remember, we're not going into too much detail here, so if you are battling with this, the section you're looking for is factorizing trinomials where a is not equal to 1. Okay. From here we get two solutions, y equals 3 over 2, or y equals 1. But we're not quite done yet. We still need to enter those y values back into our original equation for x in order to solve for x. So when y is equal to 3 over 2, we are going to get we get 0,5, we get a half for x. That's when y is equal to 3 over 2. And then when y is equal to 1, we sub in y is equal to 1 there, and we have x is equal to 2. Okay, so what a lot of teachers will tell you as well is to put your solutions in ordered pairs. That's x and y, all right? The x value and the y value that belong together. So we saw that when we got x is equal to a half, y was equal to 3 over 2. And then when you got x is equal to 2, y is equal to 1. So this is not compulsory, but it is a good way to order your answers and organize your answers. So it is good advice. All right. Also, there's a significance to writing your answers out like this. Finally, we're on to question 1.3. Now, I've been getting a lot of questions about this particular question 1.3. It tends to, the end of question 1 tends to induce a lot of anxiety in guys, and that is because it involves exponents. Now, there's really nothing mystical about this question. It's just that exponents, like skills, are very weak at the moment, unfortunately. And I wouldn't even advise that you sink a lot of time into learning how to do this stuff, because the questions tend to be very non-routine. They tend to be beast mode, level 4 questions, and you know, level 4 questions and level 4 plus, and you're not going to be necessarily picking up these marks. So it's a section where you'll have to put in a lot of time and not see a lot of reward. So unless you're aiming for that 95 to 100%, I wouldn't stress too much about this question. But here's how it goes. So the first thing when you've got a question like this is to rewrite any composite numbers, that's numbers that are made up of more than one prime, as the product of primes, right? So we're going to rewrite all the composite numbers with primes. 10 is 2 times 5, and 4 is 2 squared. Okay, now we're going to apply the exponent rule in the next question. We're going to distribute that power of n. So in place of what we had before, that 2 times 5 becomes 2 to the power of n times 5 to the power of n. Okay. So we distribute that power of n into both of the bases. The 2 to the power of n plus 2 is fine how it is, but you can rewrite it as 2 to the power of n times 2 to the power of 2. I've seen that some guys like that. That's using the reverse of law 1, right? It says that 2 to the power of n plus 2 is 2 to the power of n times 2 to the power of 2. And then on the bottom there, everything is fine. So the next step is going to be to take out any common factors that we have, because we have a plus on the top, we have a plus on the bottom, we have more than one term. So if we're going to do anything here, we're going to need to factorize. Let's do that. Right, so on the top, we had 2 to the power of n, 5 to the power of n, 2 to the power of n, 2 to the power of 2. We can take out a common factor of 2 to the power of n. And we'll be left with 5 to the power of n, 5 to the power of n, and 2 to the power of 2, which is just 4. Okay, so we didn't really need to rewrite that 2 to the power of 2. Let's just leave it as 2 to the power 2 for now. It's going to cancel out anyway. On the bottom there, we're going to take out 5 to the power of n. So we've got 5 to the power of 2n and 5 to the power of n. Now, what's important to realize here is that 5 to the power of 2n, when we take out a 5 to the power of n, it's very different to normal factorizing. We're actually going to subtract from the exponent. So we're taking out 5 to the power of n. 5 to the power of 2n divided by 5 to the power of n, because factorization is division. When we do that, we're actually left with 5 to the power of n. So 2n minus n leaves you with n. And then we have 2 to the power of 2. Okay. What we're going to do next is just cancel that common bracket. So you see that it's not just a coincidence here. One of these brackets on the top and the bottom are identical. That means we factorized correctly. So I've gone ahead and I've cancelled those out. And what are we left with? We are just left with the nth root of 2 to the power of n over 5 to the power of n. All right, this is where we need to apply the exponent rule for factorizing, or the exponent rule for roots, or for fractions. We have 2 to the power of n, the nth root of that is just going to be 2. And 5 to the power of n, the nth root of that is going to be 5. And that's your final answer there. Okay. So this is a bit of a tricky one. But the principles here that I've applied, I find myself going through them over and over and over again like clockwork, blindly. You just have to break down those bases into prime bases, right? 10 is 2 times 5, 4 is 2 squared, and then you take out a common factor of 2 to the power of n on the top and 5 to the power of n on the bottom to make sure you apply those exponent rules carefully when you are factorizing. And then you are left with the nth root of 2 to the power of n over 5 to the power of n. Now you can also write this in a number of ways to help verify this. Like you could say that that is 2 over 5, and that's all to the power of 1 over n. So a couple of different things here. My bad. Yeah. Let's leave the 1 over n for now. We can take out that power of n for now. And then also, we can rewrite that nth root as a power of 1 over n. Okay, so now you can see here very clearly that the n and the 1 over n are going to cancel out and leave you with 1. This step is not super necessary. I think it is a good idea to write this to the power of 1 over n, because fractional exponents are a very, very important thing when it comes to the grade 11 work. But again, with this question, if you're getting through to the end, you're most likely going to get all of the marks, because it is a tough question and the guys are going to be fairly generous with the marks when they see that you can do this and that you're demonstrating a knowledge of the steps. So again, don't fixate on questions like this. Rather focus on going for the big sections where you can pick up your marks quickly. All right, thanks very much for going through this with me, guys. And if you have any other questions about how all these questions work, please let me know what confuses you. Let me know what you need help with, because I'm looking for content to do next. And also, please like and subscribe, comment if this helped you. It really helps us in the algorithm. Have a good one.